When most designers decide to add a road course to an oval, they typically use parts of the oval circuit and loop the track around in the infield. But the creators of Twin Ring decided to eschew tradition and added a road course that is entirely separate from the egg-shaped oval. Weaving its way underneath, it winds through both the infield and outfield of its sister track. But the drivers won't be as concerned with that banked tarmac and will instead be all eyes on the prize as they fight for the checkered flag. We'll see who claims it as we get ready to watch round 8 of the iRacing Grand Prix Series, and you'll see it all live here on the Global SimRacing Channel. Hi, I'm Joe Peak, and with me in the booth is Samuel Ryman. Behind the scenes is our director, the Dr. Amjad Yaman, and he's using cameras provided by Ducky Beard. Sam, this is one we don't see as often on most series schedules. Why don't you introduce our viewers to the GP circuit here at Motegi?
Yeah, this is a fairly famous Japanese track, Joe. Not as famous, of course, as Suzuka, but if you follow motorcycle racing, you might be familiar with this circuit, and it's fairly decent. I mean, it has great overtaking opportunities throughout the course. There's a couple of DRS zones there, and you see lots of hairpins around this 14-turn, 2.9 mile, that's 4.8 kilometer circuit. But it is a fairly short lap. These drivers are going to have a 3/4 long distance race here today at 42 laps long. Let's give you an idea of what one of them is like.
All right, we've got Martin Kroenke in the VRS MP4-30 in our GSRC lap guide around Motegi. Coming down to turn 1, you're coming in here pretty fast, and even with the DRS, overtakes under braking will be pretty difficult. As you accelerate towards turn 3, you'll drift it across the track. This should present a slightly better place to pass, but watch out for the corner exit. It acts as one long arc through turn 4, where drivers have to feather the throttle and straighten out the wheel before mashing their foot down. Back across the track once again, and now we have turn 5, which is the tightest and slowest of this back and forth section of the track. Expect a number of drivers to attempt to pass here, but also many who outbrake themselves in the process. Now we fly under the oval to the outfield portion of the track. 6 is easily flat out, but hug the right side and get ready for 7 and 8. These S's are actually pretty darn fast and easy to get the line wrong. It also gives you very little time to set up for 9. This decreasing radius corner sometimes offers a chance for a surprise attack if you can withstand the other car's wake in the previous corners. Then there's the turn 10 hairpin, which is one of the most critical corners on the circuit. While you might be worried about passes on entry, it's really better to focus on a good exit instead. The backstretch is one of the longest straights on the track, and on top of that, it's your second DRS zone. Add in the heavy braking at turn 11, that'll probably cause the majority of pass attempts to take place along here. Just be careful with the downhill entry. Then we return to the infield, and you finish off with the difficult final chicane. With curved braking and a slower second half, drivers will be making mistakes here all day. But hopefully, you've now finished a lap around Motegi. This guide was brought to you by Virtual Racing School, a comprehensive online learning platform specifically built for sim racers. It offers data packs, software tools, and access to some of the world's best sim racers. For more information, visit virtualracingschool.com. A big thank you to those folks at VRS for allowing us to use the lap around Motegi here. Now, as we wait for some lap times to come in for qualifying, why don't we take a glance at the Drivers' Championship that they have in this series. Tommy Osgaard leading the way now with 3 drop weeks counted. They'll get 1 more, and that will continue to shift things. But you can see on the screen there that Tommy Osgaard has moved up 2 spots because that Jorge Montañez has now dropped down to 2nd. Harrison Finch gets boosted up to 3rd, but I don't believe he's able to be here today for this one, hence why we didn't have a lap from him either this week. Domingo and Calistani will round out our top 5 in the championship. Sam, as always, we like to get our viewers up to speed just in case they've never watched the iRacing Grand Prix Series before. So what are they up for today?
Well, much like a regular Formula One race, these drivers are going to be racing open setups. They're not going to have to refuel during the race. They should all start with enough fuel to finish the race. If they don't, then they're going to run out of fuel. They got to get around here 42 laps today. No super soft, medium, hard tires though, just one compound of tires. These drivers will probably want to change them because the track temperatures are soaring. 108 degrees Fahrenheit here today. And as you saw there, this is the 8th race of a 12-round season with 4 drop weeks in the iRacing official series.
So we will expect at least one pit stop. Now, unlike real life, they are not required to make a pit stop. So drivers could attempt to no stop this thing. We have seen that before, but it is difficult and usually not a successful strategy, as we watch Riley Preston work his way around, one of the faster drivers in this series, as we've seen. See if he can get a result today. Right now, I'm not seeing any lap times on the board yet. Everybody's still trying to get a time in. 6 minutes left, a relatively quick lap, so everyone should have time, though.
Yeah, very early on in the qualifying session. As a matter of fact, there's always a chance here that some lap times you'll see pop up are out laps, because the pit road exit is pretty much where the start-finish line is too. But one interesting thing about today, Joe, that hasn't been the case over the past couple of weeks, is we have a single split here in this iRacing official series race. I don't know if that's because a lot of people have been competing in the Nürburgring 24 hours this weekend, but just 21 cars registered for this session. They're all in this race, and that's going to be critical for our front runners. If you want to turn today into a good points day, you've got to finish up front. A mid-pack finish isn't going to pay a whole lot of points.
Exactly. Well, and it's a great opportunity for some drivers to maybe get more points than they usually would if they are typically in that second split. So great observation there, Sam. It's going to be an interesting one today. A little bit more variety than in iRating out there. We're used to seeing the top guys tend to compete, as we watch Jan Brezina come around for Positive Team Sport. Very popular team out here in the iRacing Grand Prix Series. And now we start to get some times in on the board. Preston up at the top provisionally. That's probably going to change as they start to tumble on. See Germanton up there right now. Rob Boer with a great first lap, getting himself onto the front row for now. Jim Calistani here, come around the final difficult last chicane. I always hate driving the chicane in just about any car around this track. And onto the front stretch. Let's see what he can get for his time. 25.4. That is going to put him to the pole. Bill Frazier coming back into the infield as well. One of the drivers usually a little bit farther down. This is one we expect to have a great opportunity on his hands. Slow lap from him, a 1:34. He must have had an error because that one did not count for Bill. He's going to get one more try. 2 timed laps out here, Sam.
Yeah, and another thing that will be interesting to keep an eye on as we're seeing all these different cars qualify, you're not seeing as many teams out here today. I mean, even the well-represented Positive Team Sport cars, those are the navy and bright green cars. I've only seen 2 of them by my count. Jorge Montañez being another one out there. Now, Jorge last race out at Road America, that was a very strange performance for him. And he spins on his qualifying run right here now, not off to the best of starts here either. We used to seeing him up front. He just didn't have a pace last time out in Road America. He was blaming the track temperature at the end of that race. I wonder if this 108 degrees could upset a few of our top contenders today.
I wouldn't doubt that it'll catch a few people out, especially if they're tired from running at the ring. Now, Jan Brezina representing the Positive Team Sport as well. So that team is at least getting some cars in. He is getting his first time lap down now, and that's going to be good enough for 6th. That is going to be a good start for him. Bill Frazier on his second lap, his only time lap, at a 1:26.6. That is going to be Oh, and it didn't count again. Bill Frazier going to have to start from the back of the field.
Yeah, see if iRacing gives him enough time after the checkered flag to get a lap in, but wouldn't count on it. Obviously, a 21-car field, this isn't a race you're going to want to start at the back of, especially considering in F1 terms, it's kind of a sprint race, just 42 laps around a 1.5 minute long circuit. Talking about times being a bit more spread out than normal, Joe, because of the variety in iRating, but it's still quite close at the top. Just 0.025 seconds separating our front row starters, Matteo Calistani and Riley Preston, provisional front row starters at that. We've still got some time left on the clock.
Get a little information from Harrison Finch. He's able to at least watch this week, saying that drivers only really getting one good time lap, we should say, because of the way the ERS works. And so I've seen a couple drivers, Sam, come out on their second lap and come to a halt on the grid and then do a practice start, interestingly, which they're able to do, they're allowed to do, because they're all out on the track by themselves. That's really clever. I think that's going to make a difference on the start, considering they have that new clutch model on these cars.
Yeah, they've had a few races to get used to that new clutch model, but of course, I think these drivers, anytime they have a chance to practice a practice start, they're going to take full advantage of it, just because the start is such a critical part of an F1 race. Although I'm not sure if you're going to be able to gain a whole lot of positions at this circuit, just because of how short the run is to the first corner, but you can certainly still lose a lot of positions if you don't get off to the best of starts.
Absolutely. Well, and it always helps to get a feel for where the braking line is from that start, because it's different from when you accelerate away from the chicane back there. So with that, qualifying is over. Let's go through the grid. Matteo Calistani takes the pole. Riley Preston, looking to do better than last week, is starting in a second. Row 2 will have Manu Domingo in third, with Rob Bower in fourth, and Kyle Germanton starts behind them in fifth. Nicholas Rasmussen will begin in P6, followed by Jan Brzezina in seventh. Then Jorge Montañez, not a good qualifying for him today, starting in eighth. Benjamin Lindsay in ninth, and rounding out our top 10 is Mirko Kamatardi.
A few names on this page we may not be familiar with. This isn't one of them, though. Ollie Croker, quite familiar with him. Starting ahead of Andreas Forsland in 12th place. Francisco Javier Gutierrez in 13th, ahead of John Pat Kelly. David Cudmore will be starting 15th, ahead of Randall M. Sharrett. Starting in 17th, my Lionheart IndyCar Series teammate Scott Bolster. He'll be starting ahead of David Sanchez. Starting 19th, 20th, and 21st are three cars that did not set a time. Bill Fraser, Andriy Ambadar, and Flavio Clivati.
And with that, wait for the cars to get gridded up here in round 8 of the iRacing Grand Prix Series at Motegi, Twin Ring Motegi. Just a few more to come on, and to show you how many are over in the Nürburgring 24, we only have one black stripe driver today. Riley Preston, our lone representative of the pro cars. Our wire cam heading down the grid to get you a look at all the beautiful liveries on these McLaren MP4-30s. Just two more cars to go. Engines idling, waiting for the green flag to come. Everybody out on the grid. So as the lights come up, the engines start to rev. Green flag is out, off the line. A decent start for a top 3, but a very good start for 4th place as he tries to thread the needle. That's Rob Bower, and he gets held up. Things accordion together down into turn 1, and we got a big incident in the back. Randall Sharrett involved in that, and a few others. We'll come back to that in a moment. Up front, though, very clean, Sam.
No! Oh, it's not. Riley Preston gets rear-ended from the lead. That was that Montañez who hit him?
I didn't quite see, but wow. Just as I speak, everything goes to hell at the front. And very chaotic now as Kyle Germanton in a nice little battle with Jorge Montañez for what is going to be top 5 at this point. Only halfway through the lap, a number of drivers suffering damage. Germanton's going to come out on top in that, but up at the front, Calistani, clean for him.
Yeah, I think it was Manu Domingo was actually the positive team sport machine we saw got into the back of Preston there. There's actually more of those machines out there than I anticipated. You see 2 of them running up front, 2 of them running in 6th and 7th place. Jan Brazino also racing for that team back there in 7th. Well, other than that, a bit of a hairy opening couple of turns, Joe, but they all gathered it up the rest of the lap. Calistani completes lap number 1.
I believe we have a replay on Preston. Now, this was Montañez, you said, that got into him. This is off the start. Riley Preston, you'll see just a decent start, really about even on pace with first and third, I should say.
Yeah, I think it might have actually been Domingo here. We'll find out who the culprit is.
Coming through turn 2. Nice view from above. There's Preston. Domingo behind. Oh, and just outbraked himself. Cold tires, do you think, maybe, Sam?
It's a possibility. We'll get a bit of a better idea with our onboard replay here.
Wow, he came up to him very fast. Yeah, and he overshoots the corner even after that. I'd say that was just second place or third place Domingo, now second place, outbraking himself into turn 3. So that order for our podium right now: Calistani, Domingo, and Bower. There are no live marshals with this being official racing. So that is going to be down to Domingo and Preston having a little chat after the race. Of course, Preston could always file a protest to the iRacing officials if he's not happy with the move. But right now, let's take a look back at Riley Preston as he tries to make progress through, continuing on. Obviously not too much damage. There's some on the front wing of that car, but he moves himself up into 12th place.
Yeah, I don't think that one's worth protesting, Joe. I mean, even Calistani overshot that turn a little bit. I think all the drivers were trying to brake late there, cover off a possibility of a driver passing them from behind. And also Preston, I mean, there was never an opening there, but Preston was in the middle of the track and he came towards the outside. He had every right to do that, but I think it just caught Domingo off guard a little bit. We'll wait and see. I'm sure there's plenty of different views on that. Fortunately, they're both still running in the race. Unfortunately for Preston, as we just documented, he's got a bit of work cut out for him.
Best battle I'm seeing right now is between Brezina and his teammate Montañez. They come up to the hairpin of 10, and here is where the DRS is going to help you. Now, Brezina is within DRS range, so he is going to get it, but it looks like he's a little too far back as they come down to 11 here, Sam.
Yep, his drivers just biding their time for now. Of course, DRS will now be open as they come towards the end of the lap. We've got 2 DRS zones that's run out of the hairpin on down the hill and also at the start-finish straight. Another way you can gain positions is by having a driver go off. Francisco Javier Gutierrez was running 14th, just had an off. That cost him 2 spots.
Going to go to replay. Check out exactly what happened. Yeah, down into 11. Another lockup of the brakes. Manages to recover it, but look at that. 2 cars immediately swooping by. Not seeing as much passing as I thought we would. Drivers seem to struggle to try and hold closely behind. Are there any portions of the circuit that's particularly difficult in this car to really tuck up behind the other car, Sam?
I'd say all of them. It's a very flat track, other than the part that's not flat, which is a big long straight coming out of the hairpin. And that is the name for the turn. I had to look it up. We call it the hairpin. And then this does drop off downhill at the tail end here, so just makes it a little bit easier to overshoot.
On replay, watch Benjamin Lindsay get a pass on Ollie Cuoca. That's going to demote Ollie down to 10th, Benjamin up to 9th. Bit of battling in the mid-pack, but other than that, a lot of single-file racing we're seeing. Bill Frazier trying to work his way forward with him not getting a qualifying time in. Riley Preston is trying to change that, though, as he catches up to the back of Frazier. UKI driver seeing if he could keep the Australian behind him for a little bit longer, but this is going to be difficult even with that damage. Preston has been on the move, and now he's got a hanger on my screen. Oh, okay, it's not there on the director's screen. Plowed through those cones on the entry to 3 quite a bit. Oh, it is there. It's hanging on under the car now. Now, Sam, that's a serious concern because we've seen that can slow cars down a little bit.
Yes, it can. And what's worth noting is there's still a lot of positions that these drivers risk losing at the bottom half of this field. Despite all that drama on the opening lap, we had a couple take us to pit road. But everyone still in this race, still on the lead lap. Scott Bolster currently rounding out the field in the number 15 machine. I believe he was one of the drivers involved in that turn 1, lap 1 calamity.
On screen, we saw the pass. Preston making it look easy down into the hairpin. The black stripe driver moving himself up to 11th. Now we switched over to the battle for the podium. Rasmussen doing all he can to try to get Rob Bower down off that lowest step, but he's got company behind him. Look at that, Germanton, Montañez, and Brezina in a train now behind the number 9.
And giving a shout out to Rob Bower here. Normally we see him hanging around 10th place. Granted, we've had a few black stripe drivers in the last couple of races, but still Bower is in the number 9 car here, and he qualified 4th, currently running 3rd, and right now shows no indication that he's in a hurry to give it up. So kudos to the driver of that number 9 machine right now, doing a good job in the early stages.
Indeed, as Germanton looking very handy at the moment himself, as he's able to ride very closely behind Rasmussen. A lot closer than what we've seen some other drivers travel behind. They come down to the hairpin, not quite close enough. Sam, do you know if there's anything that you can do with the setup of the car to make it better in the dirty air, or is is everybody kind of in the same boat on that?
I'm sure there's things you can do to the aerodynamics, particularly on the front end, to plant it a little better for these turns. I know when I took this car out for a spin the other day, it felt really difficult trying to get it slowed down for these corners. You don't get to open it up as much as you do as a place like Spa, and it was just tricky to get a momentum going. Right now, tricky to get a rhythm going, rather. Right now, they're all in the 7th lap of this race, so they all have a rhythm. And, you know, that's what they've been doing in these opening few laps, just finding out what their pace is. And now is when I think we're going to start to see more battles for position as these drivers realize what kind of pace they have going. And they're saying, oh, I'm faster than that guy in front of me. And we'll see how that mixes up the middle of the field, because certainly 4th on back, the cars are nose to tail.
A bit nose to tail up at the front.
9th place goes off. Mirko Comitardi was running in 8th place a lap ago and lost a position. Now he just lost 3 more by putting a couple of wheels off.
A difficult turn 5. Outbraked himself just slightly, went that little bit wide, and you can see how much that cost him. Now, up at the front, our eagle-eyed viewers may have seen that Kalistani, our leader, has gone purple. So while Rob Bower backs up the rest of the field, our top 2 starting to stretch away. Positive Team Sport really manhandling this race. Back in 9th, though, Ollie Quokka now has Riley Preston coming through on him. He's going to get DRS here on the main straight unless he makes a mistake in the chicane. Stays right up behind him. Look at how close he's getting. I think this should be easy pickings for the Australian. Maybe not. He's taking a look. Oh, just not much braking into that first corner, Sam.
No, and unfortunately, he's a bit too far back to try and make any kind of moves here. Of course, Preston trying to work his way back up through the field after that lap 1 incident. And, you know, I'm sure there'll be different views, as we already mentioned, on Domingo getting in the back of him at the start there. But credit where it's due, Domingo is doing a good job at holding less than a second back of Calistani for the lead with that front wing damage.
Oh, things getting very tight in this battle. There's a big mistake through turn 5 for Cuoca. Still, he's doing a phenomenal job holding off a charging Preston. Oh! Did they make contact there? Cuoca stayed defensive down into 9. Preston did not expect it and had to get out of it. Cuoca is not going to lay down for this one. Gives him the inside into 10. Hugging the apex. Preston tries to get the run off the corner. He's going to get the DRS once again. Cuoca covers off the inside. This is a real fighter for this 9th spot. Preston looks around the outside, goes for the over-under. Now we've got Frazier getting involved as he's caught up to the back of these two.
Yeah, Bill Fraser, one of the 3 drivers who didn't turn a lap in qualifying. He started 19th, already up to 11th, and now he finds himself right behind this battle, which breaks up for the time being. Almost have to wonder if Preston can't get by him, and he's got a damaged car. Is he going to have to think about some kind of strategy call?
Well, he's clearly faster. It's just, this is a robust defense from Cuoca. As they come off of 4, this is one of the good places to make a pass. Great run by Preston. Cuoca stays to the inside. Down, you can see the top speed compromise on Preston. That's what's making it oh so difficult. As Cuoca just gets a little bit of better top speed on the long straights. Oh, down into turn 7, and he gets him around the outside. Beautiful move from Preston. And now Cuoca has to worry about Frazier as well. Well, I hope Frazier was watching closely, Sam, because he may have picked up a few ideas of just what he's up for in Ollie.
Yeah, Fraser's probably a little bit confused here, though, because it almost looked like Cuoca gave up the ghost in that chicane compared to Preston. Maybe he didn't. Maybe that was as fast as he could get through it. But after how hard Cuoca fought on lap 8 to stay ahead, lap 9, things kind of... I mean, it was an impressive move from Preston. So Fraser, as you mentioned, he's got to be thinking, well, do I have to try and make my move stick in the same turn? Because it's going to be tough to do that.
Up at the front, we take a peek at the leaders. They've been holding station at just under a second between Calistani and Domingo. Don't expect any team orders here. But for now, Mateo seems to have the measure of his teammate. A little bit farther down, same team, different players. For 6th place, Jorge Montañez has Jan Brzezina behind him. They've been a little bit stuck behind this train, though. Kyle Germanton ahead of them has been chasing Rasmussen, who's been chasing Bauer, all for 3rd place.
Yeah, Bauer still doing a good job at holding on to that. It seems, Joe, even though you get DRS here, obviously, as you do at any track, for whenever you're within a second, the DRS zones are kind of shorter, or at least they're coming out of slow speed turns, so they don't seem to be as effective if a driver's a second back. You really have to be tucked right up on the rear wing of a car ahead to make the pass work into the next turn.
Yeah, it seems to be the case for these drivers. Now, once again, Calistani sets the fastest lap, continuing to pull away from the cars behind. Oh, and look at this, though, getting very close. Rasmussen under threat from Germanton once again. No DRS down to turn 5. He's going to be a little bit too far back. Farther down, got a little bit of something brewing for 14th, 15th, and 16th. Pat Kelly has had Gutierrez starting to reel him in, but Gutierrez has Randall Sherritt in a very curiously painted McLaren here. I'm sure you'll appreciate Sherritt's livery on that car there, Sam.
Yeah, it's straight back to when McLaren ran Ferrari engines.
That's a nice job on that paint scheme, though. That's very accurate looking. So as he gets ever closer to Gutierrez, remember we saw Gutierrez with an off. That car could have a little bit of under-tray damage. He's looking very handy in that dirty air. Oh, drops off out of turn 8, though, and that's going to deny him the opportunity into 9.
Ninth place, getting interesting, Joe. 10th place rather. Bill Fraser just took it, but Ollie Croker wants it back. That's going to cost him a bit on the exit there. Fraser able to run away.
Going to look at the replay. Let's see where this took place. So looks like down into turn 10. Fraser looks to the inside. Quokka doesn't defend this time. Oh, tries to hold it around the outside. Just about pulls it off. But it looks like Fraser getting the DRS down the back stretch. Oh, wow. Late dive from Quokka into 11. Isn't going to give it to him, though. Great stuff from Ollie today. Even though he's been moving downwards, I have to say, I've been appreciating the drive that Ollie's been putting on. He's going to have... let's go ahead.
Yeah, it's worth noting we're already a quarter distance through this race, Joe, and it's gone by in a hurry. Despite the high track temperatures and the tight corners around here, I think it's far too early in the race for anyone to consider pit stop. I do have a feeling we will be seeing a one-stop race for a lot of these drivers here.
In the meantime, Domingo, who was about 9/10 behind Calistani, has gathered it up a little bit. It's now down to half a second, picking up speed. These tires known for going off a little bit. Is it a bit like a NASCAR race where if you save your stuff later in the stint, it can kind of come to you and you can start to gain on the car ahead, Sam?
Oh, absolutely. I mean, that's always the case in a Formula One race. These tires do not like to be abused. Unfortunately, it is very easy to abuse a tire when you're going 180 miles an hour to 50 miles an hour in about 50 yards or so. So we'll wait and see if Domingo has been able to take better care of his equipment. Obviously, he does have a broken front wing that I'm sure isn't helping his front tire wear.
Oh, that's a good point. I didn't even think about that this whole time. I was so focused on what Calistani was doing. But Domingo is continuing to close now. It's down to half a second. It was lower than half a second for a little bit there, but he was in the dirty air through one of the tougher parts through 7 and 8. Now he's going to get the DRS one more time as he closes in down to 11. Close enough for a pass, but continues to chop that gap down. This is going to be lap 14 that they're going to start here as they come through the chicane yet another time.
Ollie Croker in trouble. He is off at the hairpin, back on again, retains 11th position. I don't think he has to serve a slowdown penalty, sir.
Yeah, here we've got the replay. This interesting incident seemed to happen under braking into 10. You'll see it right here as the rear of the car just snaps on him. Great car control to try and save it. Doesn't keep it on the track. Even still, keeps it from going completely around, brings it right back on the circuit without losing a spot. But now he's got a hanger on as Mirko Kamatardi has approached the rear wing of that McLaren.
You may have noticed at the top of the screen we are down to 20 cars. Scott Bolster retired from the race a few laps ago. You could start seeing the leaders run into lap traffic here soon, Joe, and that'll be very interesting. The short circuit with a large field of different iRating levels does mean lap traffic will play a pretty big factor, I would say, in the second half of this event.
Yeah, and our viewers who may not be familiar with iRacing, this does not work like real-world F1 where 3 corners and you must give way for the blue flag. Drivers are only given the blue flag for informational purposes. Now, they can't make undue moves and try to block the leaders. They have to facilitate the pass, as it says in the
Or they could just wait for a mistake like Carl Drummondton just did out of a final turn, and that cost him a couple spots there.
Yeah, he's giving it away to Jorge Montañez. We've got the replay. Let's see what happened here. Coming into 11. Is this into the chicane, maybe? Yeah,
it was out of a final turn, but I mean...
Oh, yeah, just you saw it got loose on entry there on the replay. He gathered it back together, but this train of cars is so close together, it still cost him despite that tiny little mistake. And you can see what that's done behind him is Jan Brzezina already hounding him to see if he can demote him one more as well. But as we were saying before, the blue flags, you have to basically deal with the traffic on your own. And if that driver isn't willing to just pull over and let you by, it's up to you to make the pass safely as the leaders.
Is Jan Brzezina a name we've seen so far this season, Joe? I don't recall him. Yeah. Oh, okay, he is. It's just number 11 guy. It just seems he's having a strong performance here today.
Yeah, this is about typical from what we've seen of him. And up at the front, our leaders did now lap the first car to go a lap down. That's David Cudmore, and he actually was very polite. I'm sure Bill would be proud as he pulled over on the front stretch and let them through. The other interesting thing, though, with these lapped cars, though, Sam, is it is like real life in the fact that they will get DRS from the lapped cars. It doesn't. Oh, and Ollie Cuoca has another issue, I believe. Oh, and it's on the front stretch. He keeps it out of the barriers. But this final chicane finds another victim as Cuoca gooses the power a little bit too hard.
Looks like he got away with that one. Could have been ugly with the nose of that car going into those tire barriers, but he still got it.
An action-packed race for the Finn, unfortunately. Or, excuse me, Diatch driver.
European.
Good call, Sam. Andreas Forsland, a driver we haven't really watched a whole lot, but he's running in 12th. A nice one today for the driver out there. Actually, with the number 12, so pretty much in position. And actually, am I looking at a black version of a Ferrari paint scheme here? That's rather clever. I kind of like that, actually. I paint all my cars black, so I'm a little partial to that color. I like that. Boy, Jan Brzezina is just climbing all over the rear of Germanton ever since that mistake. But they haven't fallen off of Montañez. That train really just stuck behind Bauer. You were giving him praise before, and it deserves to continue because he hasn't given up anything on these guys. He just is cruising around in third, and we haven't even seen a pass attempt on him, Sam. He's held them off beautifully.
Yeah, no, this definitely has been the race of the season so far, and now
Domingo giving a go on Calistani, yeah. Didn't make the pass stick, but despite that wing damage, Domingo is doing all he can to try and take P1 away. Now, here's the question, Sam. Is that wing going to cost him the lead if he takes it in the pit stops? Because I assume that it's automatically going to change for him and make for a longer stop.
That's a very real possibility, and Calistani's coming in. Now, this is unexpected, considering the fact that Calistani has been the driver we've seen this year who has not been afraid to go longer on these tyres. Well, Rasmussen in, Montañez in, Germanton. Boy, once one came in, they're all following.
And I believe this is this all the Positive Team Sport drivers? No, this is not. It is a mix.
Yeah, Preston obviously will get his front wing repaired here.
Well, you know what this is, though, Sam, with all these cars coming in. This is pretty much everybody who was stuck behind Bauer. And Bauer stayed out. So I hope that he is looking at his F3 box and realizes, I need to come in right now next time by. Preston gets his new wing. Bower's just now working his way out of the oval, so he's got a little ways to go. 25 to 30 seconds, we understand, is the bogey time on pit lane.
The problem with all those drivers pitting at the same time to get out of the traffic of Bower there, Joe, is they're not getting out of the traffic of each other. They're all still going to have to deal with each other's dirty air on their outlap here.
Certainly are.
Yeah, you see Germanton right up the back of Montañez.
Oh,
and off goes Montañez, and Rasmussen is off ahead of both of them.
Rasmussen might get a cut course penalty. He went way across the S's as this battle continues between Montañez and Germanton. Germanton wants it back. Defensive move from Montañez down into 10. Germanton looking around the outside. Kyle will get the DRS down the backstretch, and he is nice and close, tucked behind. DRS as well for Montañez. That's going to help him out, and he stays ahead into 11. Bit of a lockup from Kyle.
And now top three did not pit. So Calistani is back up in... Oh, wow. Domingo just had a really scary moment with the lapped car of David Sanchez. Fortunately, they got by without incident.
Got the
we'll
replay.
Get a replay of that.
Yeah,
this was just a bit too close for comfort here, Joe.
Wow. Yeah, that was tight. And I think Sanchez was intentionally trying to let him through. Just maybe it was his turn-in was unexpected. Thankfully, no harm, no foul for everybody. Yeah, interesting that Domingos hasn't pitted.
I think I have a theory why here, Joe. He knows, as you mentioned, that he is going to lose about 5 extra seconds to his teammate. Oh, and he comes in now. He's going and he's off on pit entry. I don't know if we'll get a slowdown now. Can you serve a slowdown in pit road? But anyway, I think he knew he knows he's going to lose time in the pit still because of changing that front wing. So he can't play the same strategy as Calistani because he'll lose out to him in the long run. He's got to try and change it up a bit.
This is the replay of him getting slowed up on entry. The lapped car just not helping him. And Calistani sets the fastest lap as we watch that. Now, the interesting thing about that pit entry, I've heard from other series that you don't actually get a slowdown there or a black flag, as Domingo actually spins the tires coming out of turn 2. Boy,
so you think he cut the grass intentionally?
Possibly. I don't want to make claims there. I don't want to say that it was intentional. But I think he might have gotten away with it. Is all I'll say on that. Because I don't like to say that drivers are trying to game the system, because that tends to raise the ire of some people. We don't know what's going on in Domingo's head, but whatever the case, he's come out in second, 7 seconds behind Calistani. That replaced wing has in fact cost him. He's got a lot of ground to gain.
Yeah, and another driver who has not benefited through this round of stops is Rob Bower. You mentioned how all the drivers pitted behind him, trying to use the undercut. It worked. Bower is now down in 7th position.
Disappointing to see. And that just goes to show, Sam, that it's not just speed around the track that counts, even in the iRacing Grand Prix Series. It is strategy, it is setup, it is everything that matters in these races. Rob Bower has fallen afoul of that, and it cost him a potential podium. However, like you said, those drivers who all pitted together have come out all together, and while they've managed to get away from Bower, they're still stuck with each other, as Rasmussen, Montañez, and Germanton, all three in a nice little battle. They are led by the car of Flavio Chivati, but he is a lap down, and now he's going to be a lap down on those cars as he goes off course to let them through.
Lap traffic hasn't played the role I thought it would.
Oh, and Montañez makes a mistake. Germanton gets through down at turn 5 to get himself back up to 4th. Swift work from the New Jerseyan.
Yeah, now we're entering the second half of the race, so I do think we've got 4 cars within the next 15 seconds or so ahead of Kalistani.
Yeah, could slow him up. We'll keep an eye on that to see if the gap starts to come down as we ride on board with Benjamin Lindsay. Great race for Benjamin here. Now, he was helped out by some of the chaos at the start, but he's gone from 9th to 6th, and he's looking at the top 5 because Montañez is under threat.
Yeah, well, not a bad race by Montañez either, considering the fact he started back in 8th position, and you know, he was definitely not up to speed at Road America last week, so showing that this is a bit of a resurgence.
Yeah, trying to limit the damage for today. We've been following the progress of Riley Preston. Well, he's on the same strategy as everybody else and has still been making up positions. He's up to 8th, and he's caught Rob Bower, looking like he's just about to demote him. The good news for Preston, he's finally got a whole front wing.
Bad news is he doesn't have a lot of time to do anything with it.
Wow, he closes up. Difference in braking between Preston and Bower through 7 and 8. Up into 9, he's not close enough to stick his nose in. Looks to get the gun off the corner. Into 10. Cars are about even, and this is where the DRS gets detected. Through 10. Onto the backstretch. But wow, a great exit from Bower. Keeps himself incredibly safe. And we understand that Cuoca made a pass. This is with Mirko. That screen down in turn 5. Doesn't make the move there. Oh, outbrakes himself. Nice heads up from the Gap SRT driver to see that coming. Just keeps himself tucked inside and slips through. Now, did I see correctly? I think Domingo just set the fastest lap at a 1:27.4. He's cut the gap down to 6.9. It is under 7 seconds, but that is small little tenths being chipped away from the lead. Is that going to be enough? Oh, and Preston got past Bower.
Yeah, I had a feeling the black car would come out on top of this battle.
Takes a few cones along for the ride for good measure. And Bower tried to come back at him at 5, but just not enough straight down there. So Preston moves forward, Bower moves backwards. And the passes are starting to come into play. We didn't see a whole many of them in the first part of the race, but as drivers who are out of positions try to get themselves
Lindsay's
back.
off. Lindsay runs wide from 6th place, comes back on course, but it's going to cost him time to that pack that was running around 4th and 5th, and that battle for 7th we've been watching the last couple of laps is now on his rear wing.
Yeah, I think this might be another pass coming for Riley Preston. That just helps him out all the more. Doesn't have to run down one car. Instead, that car comes to him up to turn 3, where the incident happened that put Preston in this position. He's not going to be in position for a pass, though, as he waits patiently behind, sets himself up for 4, tries to get to the power. He's going to have the slipstream. But this straight, as long as it is, isn't quite long enough. Preston sits behind for now. Into the oval they go once again. Around the flat-out turn 6, down into 7. Oh, another mistake here from Benjamin Lindsay is going to bring Preston all over his gearbox. Will he try and stick it in down into 9? He takes a look, tries to outbrake him. He's given room at the apex. It's going to switch back, though. Doesn't get the run off the corner. Lindsay covers him off for now, but this brings Bower back into it. DRS flaps open up down the backstretch. Preston, not the best of runs. Down the straight. Lindsay going to stay safe one more corner. through the final chicane. Lindsay, knowing that he is under threat now after multiple mistakes, putting him on the back foot.
So this three-way battle tightening up, a three-way battle for third tightening up ahead of them too, Joe. Nicholas Rasmussen, there's Carl Germanton on these rear wing, who has Jorge Montañez right behind him.
This has just been going on all race long between these three as they work their way through 6. No doubt that it'll continue for much of the race unless someone makes a mistake. They seem incredibly close on pace. Rasmussen looking at a podium. See if he can hold on to it. Germanton, despite making a couple mistakes himself, has had a great recovery, getting past Montañez himself. Germanton's been a bit of a mixed bag this season, I'd say, Sam. Some races he's looking very good, others just a bit of a mid-packer.
Yeah, fortunately having a solid performance here, the number 7 car, so he's doing well to run in the top 5, and he could be thinking about that podium. Rasmussen, who currently has that podium spot in 3rd place, he does have a podium earlier this season from the Nürburgring. Meanwhile, you mentioned, and I'm just keeping half an eye on it, Joe, Domingo running down Calistani for the lead. He is continuing to chip away at that, about 0.3 seconds every lap. It's down to 6.5 seconds now. I think it might be too little too late, but we'll keep an eye on it.
Yeah, I think it'll depend on how quickly he gets into that DRS zone. It's down to 5.9, 5.8 even. Because once he gets into that DRS, that'll give him that little bit more speed over the course of the lap. But then, as Bill likes to say, it's one thing to pass a car, or one thing to catch a car, it's a whole other thing to pass it. So while that continues to brew, really the closest fight on track is that battle for 3rd. Let's keep an eye on that. Actually, Germanton very close down the back stretch. Good run from Rasmussen to keep him safe.
So we now have 26 of 42 laps in the books. Just like that, we're into our closing stages, and Domingo took 1.5 seconds out of Calistani's lead that lap around.
I wonder if he caught some traffic or if there was a mistake. Yeah, it looks like
there was a bit of lap traffic.
John Kelly, I think, held him up a little bit as we continue to ride on board with Germanton. My goodness, he is all over Rasmussen. Now, the difficult thing here, Sam, is that Rasmussen has been blinking a bit, and that makes passing any driver that much more hairy.
Yeah, especially in a Formula One car. Because they're so unpredictable.
And you don't want to be making contact like in dirt racing or NASCAR, where you can come together and bang side to side. It's so risky in these vehicles, and they're so fragile. Out of the S's one more time. Rasmussen probably looking in his mirror. We understand that the black Ferrari of Andreas Forsland has made a 2nd stop. He's in a stall right now. Oh, and he had damage. Now, did he have an incident along the way?
Yeah, it's quite possible, Joe. We've also had a couple of cars who have dropped a lap down, have done so because of... Well, actually, no, they have all taken one stop.
Andreas definitely had an incident that caused that nose damage. That was coming under the bridge just before his pit stop. I'm not sure if it's recent enough that we could pull a replay up. We're going to see if we can grab that replay. It was right before he pitted. He just immediately decided, you know what, that damage is too much. Here, it's just before that. Here we go. Coming out of turn 11. We've seen this before today, Sam. These low-speed corners where the aerodynamics don't help the car. He gets to the power, and it just sends it right into the tires.
Yeah, I made a mistake there. I was saying some of the back-marking cars had also done a two-stop, had to go back and check. That wasn't the case, though. It just that they made their stop so late. I assumed they had already done one earlier on. As a matter of fact, though, on my time in scoring, Andre Ambadar currently running in 17th position. It's not showing that he's made a stop for me all race through.
I've got one on mine, and I think our director is showing one for him too. So I think he has made a stop. We'll have to check his lap times. That'll show us whether or not he has. But he sits in 17th for now, circling around, as he's probably going to be lapped as he's having some connection problems as well. Germanton continues to hound Rasmussen, trying everything he can, but nothing working so far. He's got to worry if a pass doesn't go off well. Jorge Montañez is in that popcorn position. We ride on with Jorge now, very closely behind. We've seen the smallest of errors, Sam, are costly around here.
Yeah, but this pack is losing ground to the drivers in 6 and 7, running them down. Benjamin Lindsay being hotly pursued by Riley Preston. As a matter of fact, I wouldn't be too surprised if Preston's thinking about trying to make a pass this lap.
I wouldn't be surprised if Preston is thinking about a podium. Look at this. Oh, looks to the inside of Lindsay, down into 7 and 8. Not often you see passes into there as he holds.
He did it earlier.
Yeah. And around the outside, too. Sets him up, coming out of 9. Not going to be close enough for this one. He will get the DRS, though.
So we got Rasmussen in 3rd, Germanton in 4th, Montañez in 5th, Lindsay in 6th, and Preston in 7th. And only a few seconds covering all 5 of those cars.
Yeah, this is starting to brew into something interesting at the end here.
Let's not discount Rob Bower in 8th and Jambazina in 9th place as Bower down. Those two not too far behind all this.
Yeah, Bower on slightly fresher tires, but not much, so I'm not sure that'll give him too much of an advantage over those drivers. Up at the front, just to keep you updated, it is down to 4.5 seconds between Domingo and Calistani. Let's see, we've got 13 laps left. I don't think Domingo's got enough there. It's going to be close. It'll require a mistake or some bad traffic for Mateo.
Well, that's a possibility. I'm not saying the lap traffic's bad, but even though this track does have long straights, it's not always the easiest place to get out of the way if you catch a lap traffic at the wrong time.
Well, and especially because it's back and forth corners, Sam. We've seen that in multi-class racing as well. When you've got the racing line moving across the track, that makes communication on what the lap car is going to do that much more difficult.
Yeah, absolutely. And it will be interesting seeing what happens when this pack from 3rd on back catches lap traffic again.
They've got John Kelly coming up quick. And he's going to have to really watch his mirrors and keep an eye on things. Rasmussen in 3rd. He's leading Germanton in 4th. Montañez 5th. Benjamin Lindsay 6th. And Riley Preston on his recovery drive, starting on the front row, being sent to the back, has come back to 7th for now. Is this where he stalls out? It gets that much harder to make passes when you hit the top of the field. Drivers a lot less willing to give it up, including Montañez, who now goes defensive on Lindsay. Through the S's one more time. I thought Lindsay was going to have to be going on the defensive, but instead now he's looking at the attack.
Yeah, made an estimate earlier, but to give you an actual number, the gap between 3rd and 9th place right now is 4 seconds. And as we mentioned a couple of times already, this isn't the easiest track to make a pass on, but it is an easy track to make a mistake on. And if anyone such as Rasmussen or Germanton makes a mistake at the front, or Montañez, like he went into the bottom of a hill a little deep, that could cost them up to about 4 or 5 positions.
Absolutely. I noticed that too. He certainly came in pretty hot. Managed to gather it back together, though, but that cost him a little bit of time on Germanton. Oh, and he's wide through one.
Calistani, our race leader, just had a bit of a hairy moment while trying to lap Francisco Javier Gutierrez. Gutierrez didn't run him onto the edge of a track or something. I think Calistani was just trying to pinch a wheel a little bit too much in the left-hander before this that we're seeing on the replay. And it almost made his car snap.
And now we've got the replay of it.
Yeah, so watch as they come up to the left at the top of the hill here. He like pinches the wheel to go underneath him and gets him riding over the curb.
Oh, yeah, he did not expect that to happen. Great catch by Calistani, but man, getting by him cost him a lot of spots, or lost some time.
Yeah, 1.5 seconds. The problem is this battle for 13th between Gutierrez and Sharrett is now right ahead of Domingo.
And on screen, Preston finally gets past Lindsay, fends him off down into 11 as Benjamin tries to come back at him, but nothing doing. Move Riley Preston now into 6th. He sets his sights on Montañez. Here's a replay of the pass. Around the outside of 10. And to top it off, he got the DRS. Lindsay did too, so that evened them out.
Meanwhile, Domingo has cleared the lap traffic of Gutierrez and Sharrett. Sharrett actually made it a bit easy for him by spinning in turns 1 and 2. And that cost the driver of the McLaren Ferrari a position to Andreas Forsland.
I think that cost a little time to Domingo as well. It was down to 2 seconds, I thought I saw, and it's gone back up to 3.5. So traffic giveth and traffic taketh.
It's taketh from Calistani right now. Calistani was behind Sanchez and hairpin.
It did indeed. It's down to 2.8 once again. Wow, the ebb and flow, that could be the difference this race. The lap traffic 10 to go now. Oh, battle on screen. Preston making short work on getting to the back of Montañez. He is all over the back of him. They got a lapped car. We're going to go 3 wide. Not quite. Preston still takes a peek. Tries to stick his nose in. Oh, he gets it down to the inside. They come together. Oh, hard contact into the wall, and over he goes.
Montañez gets substantial damage from that too, I believe, but he stays out. Preston, of course, is out of a race. He spun him, and then he just tried to find a way around him. Unfortunately, it resulted in contact again, just launched the front of his car up in the air, and that ends in an ugly incident. Fortunately, though, just a 2-car incident, and I think Montañez might have got away with it.
Oh, my goodness. The heroic drive that we've been seeing from Preston comes to an ugly end, a sad end. Now, Montañez, what can he recover from this as he's demoted down to 8th? Benjamin Lindsay finds himself in a surprise 5th now, and Bower gets promoted back up to 6th. So, that certainly was unexpected here at the end of the race. Now down to 9 laps to go. Closest battle on track still for that 3rd place up for grabs, waiting for the podium to be decided. Germanton has been holding steady behind Rasmussen. The Scandinavian driver has been doing a good job so far. Oh, as he locks him up into 11, but that's not going to give an opportunity to the New Jerseyan.
Montañez 1 lap late after that scary incident as keeping that up out on track. He did put a couple of wheels off a couple of turns ago, but he's in 8th place. Very rare to see a car get spun, and the car that got spun comes off better.
Well, and with not as much damage as we would expect, that car doesn't look too bad. Must have just gotten touched in just the right places. Here we get a closer look of Montañez's car. I think it's mostly in the side pod, so maybe just a little bit of aero damage. Yes, his wing has a little bit. It's been pretty action-packed for the Positive Team Sport team, because Calistani is hoping there's no more action left for him, as Domingo stalls out a little bit at 2.6 seconds and only 8 laps to go. We've focused so much on that battle for third in the podium, we can't forget that this battle for the lead, even though it isn't close, has been narrowing down. Wow, 4/10 that lap. That was a big one.
Yes, running out of time though.
Yeah.
The other thing he's got to consider is when he catches him, he's talking about racing a teammate, and it's not exactly like you're going to attempt a dangerous lunge on the last lap against one of those.
You would hope not, at least. Ask Daniel Ricciardo about that one.
Oh yeah, you're right. The Calistani could be the one who causes the issue too.
So, as we switch back to the battle for third, Rasmussen, oh wow, closest we've seen Germanton. Right under the rear wing, he's going to take a little peek, but nothing doing down into 7 and 8. Could he be trying to hold on down for turn 10, where he gets the DRS, stays right tucked under that rear wing? Drops back to 2/10. It was down to 1/10 for a moment. Oh, brakes late. Tries to square off the corner. This is the best chance we've seen, but he gets a little bit of wheel spin off the corner, and that seals the deal. Unfortunately, he's just not close enough to make a lunge.
Yet, still plenty of this left to go. Rasmussen using those mirrors, I am sure. It's tricky to do this. Oh!
Germanton with a big mistake out of the final chicane. Benjamin Lindsay now closes in.
Lindsay's got to watch behind him too, because Bo and John Brazina are still not far behind.
As difficult as some of the passing has been, we've been treated to some great battles around this race. Basically going from third down to 9th almost the whole race through.
Yeah, well, that's something cool about circuits where it is hard to pass, is you have to get creative to get the job done.
We've seen some really creative stuff. Preston's pass around the outside of 7 comes to mind. Now, the battle farther down we're looking at right now, Gutierrez and Forsland getting incredibly close. Forsland has been gathering him in, and a big mistake in a turn 10 is going to hand it to him on a silver platter. It's going to get into the slipstream. Gutierrez not going to take it laying down. Oh, but under braking, Andreas looking that much stronger, maybe a little too strong as he goes wide, but he keeps the spot for now. So move Forsland up to 12th.
And another driver joining in that battle was Randall Sharrett in 14th place. He's turned that McLaren Ferrari into a lawnmower at a couple of points today too, with spins off the track, so he'll be hoping to recover from that.
World's most expensive lawn cutter out there. Now, just to throw an ape-shaped wrench into the system, Well, they're being caught by this battle for third with Rasmussen, Germanton, Lindsay, and Boer all running them down at a rate of knots. Oh, and the pass of contact between Sherritt and Gutierrez. Down into turn 5. Gutierrez is going to hold on to it for now. Let's look at the replays. We didn't catch that one on camera. Has a go at it after a mistake from Gutierrez. Just can't get the car to turn in enough and understeers into the side of him.
Yeah, bit of a late move here, I would say, but I understand you're trying to make a pass and a mistake from the car in front of him. So yeah, that's where he saw the opportunity.
I just didn't expect it. Hard to adjust.
Oh,
so
battle
late.
on for third. Here we go. Rasmussen going defensive all the way to the inside down. DRS for Germanton trying to outbrake him on the outside. We saw this didn't work well earlier, but Germanton looks like he's finally not going to be able to pull this off as they're going to chicane. They bam wheels and holding on to it. For now it's Rasmussen. Oh, and he spins. Gets clobbered and Boer goes into third. No, he doesn't. Germanton holds on to it.
My goodness, it was a hornet's nest in there. Oh, and a big bobble there from Boer. Costs him a position. Lindsay gets by. Now, Brezina is going to look to the inside down into turn 3. We'll get a replay once this eventually settles out. Boy, that was brewing for a long time. And finally, the pressure cooker boils over. Let's finally take a look at that. This all kicked off out of turn 10. With the DRS down into 11, there's the attempt at the pass. Rasmussen decides he's not going to give up. You saw a bit of a bobble out of the corner there from Lindsay. And this is where it all goes wrong, where a mistake from Germanton sends him into Rasmussen. That sends Rasmussen spinning around.
Rasmussen does get back going again, but we mentioned even half an hour ago saying if a driver makes a mistake from third, they're going to move 5 spots. Well, it finally happened. Here's Boer. He's just like, I'm going to head out of here. And he almost came away with it, but with third place.
Yeah, if it weren't for the fact that he had to take to the grass, he would have easily had that spot, I think. I think we're back live now. Down to 3 laps to go.
Oh, and they've got this lap battle now. I want to make a movie, Joe, where 2 hurricanes collide into each other.
Boy, like I'll borrow another one from Bill Zahn. That was an octopus putting on socks there, that battle. As it settles itself out, so let's give you the rundown. Germanton 3rd, Lindsay 4th, Boer 5th, and Brezina 6th. Now, Montañez, remember his issue earlier on, that puts him up into 7th. Rasmussen gets demoted to 8th. Rasmussen, you got to feel for him. He was kind of an innocent victim in that because it was the mistake of Germanton sending him spinning into the rear wheel of Rasmussen, and he just got spun around. And unfortunately, with him getting turned completely, he lost the most spots of anybody.
Yeah, I mean, but at the same time, it's a risky run when you battle someone hard for position like that. You know, you could point at someone in real-world F1, say Max Verstappen, take, for example, say, oh, all these accidents aren't in his fault. Yeah, but when you race as hard for position as what someone like Verstappen does, or Rasmussen was doing there, sure, you may not cause the incident, but you always run the risk of being involved in one that you don't necessarily cause. Absolutely.
When a pattern starts to emerge, you have to look at the common factor.
Hey Joe, since we kind of lost sight of this, no lap's about to come up here.
It certainly is. And, well, the gap down to 1.4. Whoa, a battle here on screen between Boer and Montañez. Or, excuse me, no, Boer and Brezina.
Yeah, it's very easy for us to get them mixed up here today. They keep changing on us.
And a lot of positive team sport drivers out there. A little bobble out of the corner for Boer. He's got to have damage. We've seen that a couple times now where that car is nasty out of low-speed corners since he got touched. This is Brezina making the move down into 1. Looks to the inside. He's given space. Textbook maneuver from Brezina.
No, it's time to...
Domingo off.
I'm back on again. We're about to start the...
Yeah, this was into turn 11. We're going to stay live, and that, I think, puts the nail in the coffin. Unless Calistani himself has an off or an incident, he has got the win sealed up, because what was almost about a second behind is now 3 seconds back for Domingo. Boy, how long...
Brazina from 5th place in the same spot, and that costs him that position to Bowen.
Oh, after such a great move on him. Let's watch the replay real quick. Oh, this is the
pretty much a
mistake
copy
from Domingo. Or is it?
Well,
no.
It looks exactly the same.
Well, Positive Team Sport having troubles down at turn 11. But let's go to our leader. He deserves a little screen time after the drive he's put in and after the season he's had, Sam. I was about to say, how long have we been waiting for Calistani to get himself P1 in this series, on the broadcast at least? It's been a long time coming. He's tried alternate strategies after a number of bad races, put him on the back foot. Today, he has looked incredibly good out there. Hasn't really had to battle for it much, but that's because he's had the pace. Matteo Calistani, the Italian, comes around the final corner to take the win in round 8 here at Twin Ring Motegi.
Domingo gets second despite some early front wing damage and the off enter in the pits. Who is going to get third? It looks like it is going to be Germanton, and for the first time this race, it actually looks a bit processional from 3rd to 6th as they come to the checkered flag. I guess they finally, they've all made a truce, say, guys, let's just get to the line here. Here we go, Germanton, Lindsay, Boa, and Brazina.
All under a blanket. Oh, poor Rasmussen, looking at a podium, did such a good job holding people off for so long and comes home winning the 8th. How about Bill Frazier? Where did he start this race? 19th to 9th. What a run. Ollie Cuoca going to get a top 10. Well back from Frazier. Even though he didn't manage to hold off many drivers, he fought hard, and I have to tip my hat to the DH driver. He fought hard. He fought very fair, too. I didn't see a dirty move all race from him that we caught on screen, at least. So great job for him for a top 10. With that, we're going to take a break here on the Global SimRacing Channel. We'll come back with the official results as well as driver interviews. And on screen, you're going to see all the upcoming races here on the GSRC. Welcome back to Twin Ring Motegi, where we just watched round 8 in the iRacing Grand Prix Series. Official racing here on the broadcast, and Matteo Calistani in a single split. Don't see that often here on the broadcast race. Came home with the win. I'm sure he's going to be happy about that one. He's been trying for a while. Manu Domingo was running him down, but a mistake just as they come to the white flag denied him the opportunity. He had to settle for second. Kyle Germanton, in one of the most chaotic moments we've ever seen here in the iRacing Grand Prix Series on GSRC, manages to get third. But we went back and looked at that incident. Quite a bit of net code involved in the contact between himself and who was in third place, Rasmussen. Fourth place goes to Benjamin Lindsay, going from 9th to 4th. We hadn't noticed that. Boy, what a run for Benjamin. Boer manages to get a top 5. I'm sure he'll be happy with that one here in the single split. Jan Brezina comes home with 6th, with Jorge Montañez getting 7th. Nicholas Rasmussen takes 8th place, Bill Fraser 9th, and Ali Cuoca 10th.
Yeah, so let's go to page 2, starting with the last drive on the lead lap across the line, Mirko Comitardi. First car 1 lap down, Andreas Forsland ahead of Randall Sharrett and Francisco Gutierrez all the way back in 14th. Andre Ambadar and John Pat Kelly and David Cudmore, they all round out the cars 1 lap down, and Flavio Clivati back there in 18th place, and David Sanchez 19th. And we've got to apologise to everyone who didn't finish on the lead lap, I think, for not giving them the screen time that their battles probably deserved, just because things were so intense there for the third place. Riley Preston was a DNF, as was Scott Bolster.
Before we get to interviews, we're waiting for our drivers to finish celebrating and come on down. If you were in the race, definitely come and talk to us in our Discord. We have the replay of that incident. Now, watching it one more time, we're going to watch it a little bit more closely. You were talking about during the break about the net code and why you were saying that maybe it wasn't just an innocent victim on Rasmussen's side as well, that maybe Germanton deserves a little bit of credit on this as well.
It's so hard to tell, isn't it? I mean, net code. I mean, it could be because I want to give Benjamin Lindsay here credit for stamping on the brakes and avoiding all of that.
Yeah, because as we watch there, Germanton catches it too. So you have to think that if it wasn't for that phantom contact, everybody would have been okay and they would have kept battling. Yeah, watch from on here. Catches the car on his own. Yeah, oh, man, that's just bad luck all around.
It's hard racing. I mean, sure, I stood there and I said, okay, well, if these drivers wanted to finish the race, hey, I'll tell you what, Nicholas Rasmussen showed up in our broadcast feed.
Well, perfect timing. Yeah, let's get his thoughts on how things went as we pull him in. Unfortunately, taking home an 8th place after trying hard to hold on to that podium. Nicholas, boy, that was wild at the end. How are things from your perspective on that incident?
I mean, it was on netcode. It was a fantastic race. I mean, that's what it's all about, isn't it? And we all know when we run this closely on sim racing that netcode can occur, and it happens. And I think we were both aware of the risk, and at the end of the day, it just happens. I mean, there's nothing else to say about it than it was fantastic. It's how racing is supposed to be, and I enjoyed it. And of course, it's disappointing to lose third place that way. But yeah, it was fun.
Best answer to one of those questions I've ever heard, Joe.
Absolutely. Well, I'm just as pleased to see such a positive response, and glad you enjoyed the race. Now, on the rear wing, I see you've got the Alzheimer's Association on your car. I know a lot of drivers try to promote various charities. Since we've got you in here, would you like to talk a little bit about that and why you've got it on your rear wing?
Yeah, of course. Actually, it was my friend Cody Wensing who got it all set up. But I think we all need to be more aware of that disease. It's an absolutely horrible disease, and whatever we can do to help science progress in this area, I think we should do. I think we all know somebody who have been affected by this horrible disease, and I think why not put it on our cars is a way to get it out there. And I'm really happy that you noticed that, because it means that it works.
Yeah, and we want to try and give that exposure wherever we can, as we believe in that cause as well. Now, talk about how hard you were fighting as well, because you mentioned that just hard racing out there. Was the fact that it was a single split today giving you that extra motivation to try and get that higher spot, knowing that maybe the strength of field wouldn't be as high today?
Well, I don't know. I mean, I think I always go into it like I want to get the best result possible. Of course, it was a single split today, and a podium was possible. And I will say I pushed probably a little bit extra to try and keep in front to get that podium, because something like I really wanted it. But at the end of the day, I think the whole team here at GSRC work as hard as we can to progress and build, so we can, during the winter months, try and challenge for the Pro Series. So it's something we always try to do.
Sam, do you have any questions? Since Nicholas is our only one today, it looks like.
No, I really appreciate what Nicholas said there, because it was a point I was about to make before he stepped in. I said, we can say, Nicholas, that it's this driver's fault, that driver's fault. But at the end of the day, that was just hard racing. You guys were racing for third place with very few laps left to go in a race. Do you think that gets overlooked here in the Grand Prix Series on iRacing at some points? Everyone's trying to portion blame, and at the end of the day, it's fun.
Well, that's what we're here for, having fun. I mean, of course, in the heat of the moment, you can get angry, and I just learned to deal with that through a lot of years of sim racing. That sometimes things happen that I will say you have control of. In this case here, you could have chosen not to race as closely. I didn't choose that, and Carl chose to race hard as well, which is, we both take that risk. And when you take that risk, you gotta be ready to take the consequence of that. And I think it gets overlooked sometimes that at the end of the day, even at a world championship level, of course you want to be competitive, but why do it if it's not fun? I mean, then you should stop, in my opinion. So I think it does.
Great answers from Nicholas today. Thanks for coming and talking to us. We're glad to have you in the booth, and best of luck next week, and we hope to see you on another broadcast.
Thank you very much, man, and thanks for this amazing broadcast. I can't wait to watch it back.
Thank you. That was Nicholas Rasmussen, who gets an 8th place today, and we're about to close up. So with that, of course, we want to thank the iRacing Grand Prix Series community, including all of the donators, as this is a crowd-funded broadcast on this series. So these are all of our donators for this season. If you want to help donate, I believe we have a link in the description, and you can help support bringing this to air each week. Now, of course, also thanks to Jan Brzezina for organizing that effort to bring this broadcast each Sunday. And thanks to the companies that provide the software and hardware for our broadcast listed here on your screen. Additional thanks to Eric Ekholm and Casey Lalonde, who provide our wonderful music. See the screen for how to get a hold of more of their great work. Thanks to the team today as well, Sam, Amjad, and Dougie. If you'd like to find out more about GSRC, including upcoming races, you can find it at globalsimracingchannel.com. Or you can check out our social media on Twitter at GSR Channel, on Facebook at Global Sim Racing Channel, and Instagram at GSRC_Graham. Don't forget, head on over to our YouTube page as well. There's that big red subscribe button. Hit that so that you don't miss a moment here on the GSRC. Next race, how about a classic circuit this time? We are going to Monza. That'll be Sunday, May 13th at 10 a.m. Eastern. We'll also have upcoming races for other series listed on the screen, so check those out and mark them down on your calendar. However, until next time, race clean, race hard, and we'll see you on the track.